Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is October the 6th, 2023, and today's daily workout recommendation for me, based on my accumulated statistics that my smartwatch has gathered, is that I should have rested today, but today I did a 5K, just over a 5K. I went 3.14 miles in 49 minutes and 46 seconds. And I feel pretty beat. I don't really know when the last time is that I went an entire 5K at a running speed. I think it was the last time I was feeling good, which also was some time ago. Between then and now, the most I was able to manage was to try and push myself to run 1 mile per day over the last 4 days. So there are a lot of commentators on here and a lot of couch potatoes who can assess a situation. They might even be able to naturally run as far as I ran, even faster, with much less effort. And for that, I commend you. I also have to ask, for those of you who are at a starting point, who might see my commentary as showcasing or showboating or bragging, listen to me breathe. It's very labored. It's hard for me to breathe in fully, and I'm sweating pretty profusely. I don't know if you can see, but I can tell you that I've been working pretty hard at trying to recover my health while talking about circumstances that I believe we all share. Just as an example, if you are a direct relative of mine who is watching this and you have not helped share some of the insights that I've given about my father with my father, if you still talk with him, which I know you do, a lot of my relatives who are, lurking on this site are lurking to see, well, what's this guy up to? And they might still be wishing hostile energy towards me for sharing true information. Like if I tell you that from my perception, from my perspective, that I believe that my father was robbed of his property, which was originally gifted to him so that it could be passed down his generation, in other words, to me, according to my grandparents, then some people might bristle at that thought because either A, they weren't there to hear the same thing, B, maybe my grandparents told them the same thing, or C, they actually did help to steal my father's property. When my dad was in a halfway home, when he was in recovery, I remember that I was able to have a group conversation with him and his therapist who was there. And the therapist was able to quickly see what I was demonstrating, which was that if I told true information that my dad was unable to lie about because the other person knew a different truth, then he would get really upset, because egocentrically, it's quite upsetting if you're able to tell someone a lie over and over, maybe for your whole life, and then someone else comes into the room who knows a different variation of that truth. And now you can't lie suddenly. So that causes a problem. That can cause someone to do a lot of things to keep from exposing the shame. Now, my dad shouldn't be ashamed for any of the things that he's done. In my presence, my dad helped to raise me to be a fully independent person who's able to speak the truth without hesitation. In the past, I hesitated because I was weak, and people would oftentimes demean me for everything from my ethnicity to pretty much any other reason you can imagine. Even the status of my own parents, and even the socioeconomic status of whatever we might have belonged to bracket-wise, was something that was denounced about me. I remember there was one girl who told me that she couldn't go out with me because I was the wrong ethnicity. There were a lot of things that kept me from participating actively in a lot of different things. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I have done that has strengthened my perception of self was to strengthen myself. So as I fortified myself mentally And as I began to challenge myself physically, I started to grow in a different way. And at the same time, with everyone who continues to perceive my true statements as judgments and leverage some kind of hostility towards me, I feel like I'm retaining a little bit of the aging process that I really shouldn't be. I'll hold on to it for a little while, but I'm transforming it and reinserting this energy back into the currency stream. And as Jesus said, let Caesar have what is Caesar's. So for anyone who's only able to deal in hate and hostility and destruction and despair, you might be in for an unwelcome surprise when all of that energy is cashed back in on your side. That's just an idea for the people who are watching, who are not helping to have a conversation with the people who need to be having conversations. Confirmation. Did you hear it? The honking? For all of these insights that I share, and for all of the opportunities that we've ever had to walk together, to talk together, one of my favorite times to walk together with someone was when I got to walk with my father, and he told me about how angry he was at certain things, how he wanted to hit me, with the rocks that he was holding in his hand. Now, this is something that could have probably gone over a lot better in a therapist session where people were able to be monitored while they were pissed. The therapist could observe the circumstance, hopefully helping the circumstance. But in what circumstance would you have a therapist and someone who wasn't bound, who was capable of striking someone over and over? My own father did that. He hit me several times. And this was all while we were trying to get the help of a sheriff's office where my dad had ended up. He basically wound up at a sheriff's office, kind of like a Silver Alert. He didn't even know how he got there, according to him. I bet the methamphetamine and all of the other things that he did probably would help to paint a better story and tell a story to all of us about how addictions and how covering up shame usually are tied hand in hand. So for those of us who are not addicted, who think we're not addicted, but yet who still carry shame about the past, who can't talk about the past, all I got to say is I'm praying for you. I'm praying for all of us. And I'm also praying that my family and my friends will help me to communicate with whoever needs to be communicated with. And by that, what I mean is whoever continues to leverage any kind of energy in my direction, I'm going to want to interact with them. And it doesn't mean that I'm just going to basically want to be a punching bag. It means that any negative energy that comes from you towards me, I'm going to do my best to channel it back in a positive manner. That's what we all can aspire to do if we are inspired to do so. But it also takes a lot of strength, and it also sometimes takes a lot of distance. And I can understand why in our book of peace that we use in this nation, the Bible, why Jesus might have gone on a retreat into the desert to be alone and apart from all of the people, including his own parents, who may not have been able to understand what he was going through. But the reality is most of us can understand what we are all going through at this point in time. We're all seeing shocking news. We're all impacted by the devastating events. We're all being touched by climate challenges. And for whatever reason, we're doing our best to only reach out and touch one another by sending text messages. We can't even actually use our voice to leave messages anymore. I don't really know what the generation before us as fathers taught them, but our fathers typically taught us that to communicate, it was better to do it in person. It was more effective. And for whatever reason now, in this era, our fathers are doing a lot of absentee voting. They're not really present anymore. And I don't know why, but I guarantee you that the more that I share this kind of content, and the more that you share this kind of content, and the more that you help drive home the conversations that need to be had at home, the more progress that we can make in our journey towards becoming the best version of ourselves. We need each other's input in order to grow. And if we want to be isolated and just stay right where we are, well, that's a really great slippery slope to be on. It's a great pitfall to be on when the time comes for the last two appointments that we have, the appointment of death and the appointment of judgment. I hope that makes sense. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.